G'day everyone, my name is Noah and welcome back to TJM Farming here on YouTube. We are a West Australian wheat and sheep farm on the banks of the Moore River, growing merinos. We grew a bit of hay for sheep feed last year and some oats and barley, but the oats and barley got burnt in the bushfire last year. This time round, we're going to have a little bit of a change in plans for our cropping. Now, I know at the start of the year, go back and watch Project Racetrack video for further context. At the start of the year, I said the original plan was going to be for 120 hectares of cropping. We were going to put both Northwest paddock and Clark Road paddock into wheat, barley and oats. These were going to be oats for hay, barley for extra sheep feed, and a bit of wheat as our cash crop. And then the fuel crisis and the fertiliser prices went stupid through the roof in March and April, and suddenly it looked like we were only going to put a hay crop in. Well, we'll roll the tape and we'll give you some further context. Right, hello, and welcome to May. What I was going to say today was that we got our wheat seed delivered. 2 tons of Tomahawk Wheat to join the Pegasus barley. That's in the bulk of bags in there. Well, flimsy pallets over there, which can only mean, oh dear, Murphy's Law was at play again. Trust me, this is not all of what was spilled. It was well, at least 100 kilos on the ground, but we managed to scoop it up so that there's only about 50 or so. Not fun. Not very fun at all. So as a result of that seed spill, we basically changed our minds on what we were going to do. We ended up tracking down some fertiliser through Nutrien down at Kwinana, 5 tons of it. That's got nitrogen, phosphorus and a bit of sulphur in it. Unfortunately no potassium, but we're going to have to find a solution for that in the future. The new cropping plan is Northwest paddock has sheep feed in it. It's grown some stuff since the fire. We've got some big plants in there, including a little bit of blue lupins, a little bit of ryegrass, a little bit of some other weeds that normally we'd need to go and spray. However, that's going to be our secret weapon paddock for later on this year. So we're going to leave Northwest paddock for now, and that means our big cropping paddock is going to be Clark Road. Now I say big cropping paddock because we've decided that we are indeed going to put the Pegasus barley and Tomahawk wheat seed that we were donated after the fire to good use. It's better to have it in the ground growing because it's not going to grow in the bag. So the plan is for our cropping this year, we're going to put around roughly 8.5 hectares, give or take. We're going to put the 3 little paddocks around the house and sheds into oats for hay using the seed that we harvested and put in the Uncle Ken truck over there. The oats for hay will be going in first, and then after that we want to do a little bit of cover cropping going over the fire breaks that we left in bull paddock during the fire as a last ditch measure to try and protect the house and sheds. As it turns out, we didn't end up needing that in the end, thank goodness for that, but it has left fire breaks and not a lot of feed growing in bull paddock. So the idea is, with the points that we secured from Canna, with thanks to our relatives up there for letting us go and raid the point stash that they had up there, we're hoping that with the points that we've secured, we'll show you that in a minute, we will go and fix the plough ruts, the furrow ruts that the plough left last year. Now, the combine situation. The 753 is sitting over in the house paddock as we speak. I mentioned granular fertiliser. We're not going to put liquid down the chute this year. We're going to try something else, which may need a boomless nozzle for the liquid cart. Again, the combine will be running by itself this year, just for this year, provided things work out in our favour. Next year, we will go back down the liquid path and we'll reunite the liquid cart and the 753. Now, you may also notice that the Johnny tractor is parked over here. We got it going. And I'm pleased to say we have fixed the GPS without footing the bill for a new GPS screen. The GPS, in a nutshell, is made up of 3 components. The screen, the globe on the top, the AG25, and the cord that goes between them. If the screen goes kaput, it's the screen's fault. If the screen can't get signal, it means one or 2 things. Either the cable's buggered, or it's the globe. We've already had to replace the globe twice in the past couple of years. The old one is sitting in the shed. Dad was really hoping it wouldn't be the globe. So naturally, we brought out the spare cord that we originally bought for Big Blue and put it on. And the screen started working again, which is really good to hear. So, provided the tractor wants to start for me today, we're going to go shift it over to the house paddock and attach it to the combine so we can raise it up. Once it's raised up, we can bring the combine around the other side. I won't do that straight away because the next job we need to do is get the hay forks on the loader and go feed the sheep. And once the sheep are fed, we'll put the rock bucket on, and then we'll finally go and clean up the last of the mess that's outside the workshop so we can bring the combine round and work on it at the shed directly. Pin in the hole. Cool. I won't take the camera in the loader with me because we still need to fix that bloody sensor issue with the brake pressure. Even though the air brakes on the loader are fully functioning, the sensor's gone in it again, meaning a constant beep, 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 beep noise. I cannot record under those conditions, so I need to concentrate. So we'll put the camera down and we'll see you when we get back. We're back from feeding the sheep. Nothing much to report from the sheep paddocks at the moment. The ewes are due to drop any day now. I haven't seen any lambs just yet in the paddock, but that could change in the next couple of days. You'll find out weeks in advance if you look at the community posts on YouTube. It always helps to look at those. Anyway, we've got the combine hooked up to the tractor. We've performed a little bit of planter yoga just to make sure that I can raise and lower it correctly. But yeah, you can see it's not quite even with the roller going and rolling all the rocks in this paddock. That's what the wide points are going to try and solve. Right, so just double checking. We've got it hooked up to remote number 3. So, back should be up, push it forwards, is down just like that. So we'll raise it back up again. And let's hit the farm track. There's something that people outside Australia wouldn't get to see every day. A combine meets the combine. Right, that is the combine in position. This is, well, that's the reason why I performed phase 1 of the clean up the shed project. Really just to make enough room to get the combine in here. So we've got direct access to the shed because we've got bolts here as well as the wide points that we need to put on here. It'd be much better doing this rather than what we did last year, because last year, as a lot of you would know, we had the combine parked over there where the fencing materials still are, and we can't put that there this year, so we're putting it there. Now, I've mentioned points earlier. Go back and watch last year's videos where I explain a whole lot of waffle about tines, points, and boots. It's that time of year again where we need to do some maintenance on the Chamberlain 753 combine seeder. We're going to have this discussion every year. No doubt with all the new subscribers that have joined us on the channel, joined the TJM Farming bandwagon. Thank you for subscribing, by the way, everyone. And especially thanks to our channel members. Unfortunately, Phil has left us, but thank you to Mark and to Simon for being our combine cropper and rookie farmhand. Again, you guys are the power behind helping us get this thing up and running this year. Anyway, what is a combine seeder? Combines, for lack of a better term, are basically a seeder. We call them combines because back in the 1950s when the early Chamberlain combine design came out, they were one of the first seeders in Australia to combine seed and fertiliser. How it works is you got one bin for the seed, another compartment behind it for the fertiliser, and they both share a tube that runs down to what we call the seed boot, the closer plate, the point, and the tine. Some people in other parts of the world, especially Canada and the United States, they call these things hose or shanks. We call them TYNES. What makes our 753 different compared to the other 753s that came out of the Chamberlain Welsh Pool factory in 1986 is two things. You can notice that there's all of the TYNES here in completely different 8-row spacings. All of them have hoses going to them. And the second is the fan assist, which is basically the same sort of air fan kit that you can put on these machines to help the seed flow from the tank to the TYNES points and boots a lot better. This machine, when it originally came out of the Chamberlain factory, would have been ground drive, which is what these big wheels are. These wheels drive the whole machine. There's a bunch of cogs, especially on that side on the gearbox end, which are connected to a chain drive from the wheels. When the wheels propel the motion and the gearbox is unlocked, that drives the chain drive, which then powers the meter rollers underneath the bin and basically sends the granular fertiliser and the seed from the box down the chute. The fan kit was added by the previous owner of this machine, Mr. Nelson, who we bought it off last year, and he also went and changed the tine arrangement on this machine. How these combines were originally set up, yes, they did have spacings similar to this, but the front bars up here were cultivator tines and the tines at the back were the sowing tine. This was because combines are traditionally what we call till machines, meaning that they require some kind of tillage to go in front of them. Now, this one has been changed so that the cultivator tines have gone away and they just swapped them all to sowing tines with what we call knife points, which is what these ones down here are. This is what we call the point. It's what digs into the ground and makes a nice line in the dirt where the seed and fertiliser follows, and then it's covered over by the press wheels. These have a shallower cut into the soil, meaning that you could go in a nice straight line, and it's really good for trash flow, meaning that this thing, compared to its contemporary combines, the combines that came before it, the Chamberlain Mark II, like we saw last week at the Tractor Museum, and the International 511, they are what we call till combines, where they require one-way furrow ploughs or some kind of harrow to go in front of them to loosen the soil and also get rid of the stubble that would otherwise get caught in between the tine. Now, the knife points are all well and good, but as you've seen in some of the previous footage in this video, they don't do very good when it comes to plough furrows, because narrower, straighter cut, they don't mix the soil in and cover over the ruts the plough made. That's a problem, because last year we ploughed that paddock and the paddock next door to it, where we harvested the crop at the start of this year, and it's all over the place. It's very bumpy, it's very rocky. The plough opened up a gravel pan, not exactly fun. So, our solution to this old school problem from one-way ploughs calls for an old school solution. Enter the wing points. This are what we call a bundle of wing points. Some people call them cultivator points, some people call them wing points, some people call them wide points, and I like to call them arrow points because it looks like an arrow pointing in a particular direction. Really quickly, we'll just give you a demonstration. We've got a wing point here, we've got a knife point like the ones that are on this combine here that we used all of them last year, and this was one of the knife points we were thinking of originally using this year. That is a little bit wider at the top, so it has a bit more coverage and protection for the seed boot back there. The knife points cut into the dirt in sort of a nice narrow line like that, just enough for the seed and the fertiliser to get through. The same with this one, nice narrow cut. But the difference with the wing point, nice wide cut, meaning that big deep furrow. Now, this, in theory, is going to mix in the soil and level out somewhat the paddocks where the plough went, which is good. Ideally, we would have had this on a scarifier with harrows behind. We don't have a scarifier, and we don't have one with harrows. And on top of that, with the uncertainty around the diesel, we don't want to be burning excess diesel with the tractor working up ground And the other issue with working up ground, especially in dry conditions like we're experiencing now, is tillage. Unfortunately, while it's a lot of fun to perform, it dries the soil out quicker. So the idea is, well, if we don't have a scarifier and we don't have one with harrows on the back, simple. We'll just put the wide points onto the combine and swap out the knife points for the wide points. And in theory, that's going to level out the plough furrows. Now, it's all well and good for you to say that you want to put wing points on instead of something like this one or this one, but how's it going to work? And what's going to happen with these closer plates here? That's the issue that we've been experiencing, because yes, for this project we're going to need these. They're called cup heads or crushed cup head bolts. And how they work is they're designed to slot in to the wide points like that. That way it curves with the point itself. So if you hit a rock or something, you don't risk snapping the bolt clean in half and losing your point to the dirt. And then having it be hit by all the other points, smashing them as well, and then going underneath a gang of press wheels. Nobody wants that because it's not fun. What we need instead is this box of bolts that we got right here. Now, originally I did think we needed much longer bolts, but it turns out I got my measurements completely incorrect. So the whole idea of this exercise is this bolt goes in at the top here, goes into the tine, and then after that, slip that through the hole. And when that's all said and done, we'll have enough thread to put the nut on. And then we'll come along with the rattle gun and put it on further. So the end product will look something a little bit like this. Bolts in the top with the point, pokes through underneath. You have just enough thread under there like that. And here's one that I prepared earlier, although it's not tight all the way with the rattle gun just yet. So that's 2 down. Only what, 26 more to go? Now, some of the more experienced farmers will immediately go, hang on a minute, Noah, there's something wrong here. You're right. I went and put the closer plates on underneath wing points when the closer plates were actually lower than the wide point. This is going to be the thing that bites us up the backside later on. Because as it turns out, the closer plates were lower than the wide points, and as a result they would skim on the ground. I didn't figure this out until after we got some rain and I did further testing. So I ended up having to take all of the closer plates off and run just the wide point and the seed tube. We were hoping to test the combine out today. That may still be the plan, not sure, but as it always does, shit has decided to hit the fan. Or in this instance, the pump. We need the big air compressor for this one. So as you can probably tell, we're in a bit of trouble. The one solar pump, for the record, it was put down long before we owned the place and long before the previous owners of the place that we bought it off. It was down before then, so it probably predates the racetrack. Either way, the solar pump, which basically runs a gravity system where the solar panel during the day pumps water, runs along the pipeline up the hill, filling the 2 tanks, and when the 2 tanks are full, they then send the water back down the pipeline, supplying all the water to the troughs. So that's Clark Road, Racetrack North, Racetrack East, pine tree and middle paddock. That's 50% of the farm troughs right there. And when that pump goes, we don't find out until the troughs start running out of water. And when we get to that point, the tank on top of the hill is already empty, the tank at the sheep yards is already empty, and it's staring down the barrel of potentially having to cart water, which is something that we don't want to do and we don't necessarily have time to do. This was basically what happened yesterday, where Dad went out to check on the paddocks, check on the sheep, do his usual run out the west end. He checked on the water because the water was starting to get a bit low, and lo and behold, the pump is buggered. We ended up pulling the pump out of the hole yesterday, and a lot of rumbling, a lot of tumbling, meaning that the motor inside the pump may potentially be buggered. This is a solar pump, and the reason why we're at the solar pump today and got the air compressor out here is because of that thing. There has been a lot of talk recently to do with these solar panels and placing a whole bunch of them on farms. Well, technically we are no exception to this, except you won't find a full paddock of these things that generate energy from the sun. Much like the contemporary windmill you can see over there, I think that one's not pumping anything. The solar pumps are basically the 21st century answer to the 20th century windmill. Essentially, when the windmills became too hard and too complicated to fix, and when the older guys started dropping like flies, the younger guys couldn't exactly catch on with the skills of repairing the windmills. So we're using modern technology like this solar pump here, and basically how it works is the solar panel harnesses energy from the sun. Pretty standard stuff, similar to how your solar panel works on top of a roof. And the electricity that the solar panels collect from the sun goes into this control box here. Normally it'd have free lights saying that it would be pumping water, and how it works is the electricity generated from here would go down to this, the solar pump, which normally sits right down the bottom of the well. And when the well has water and everything is working correctly, normally the pump would be pumping. And so it would send the water up through this great big long hose and out to the main water system, which provides water to the tanks at the top of the hill. However, much like contemporary windmills that these things replace, solar panels also have their own issues. Most of the time it's not the solar panel itself at fault. Generally it's the solar pump that's the issue. Occasionally the motors can get burnt out if they've been pumping and pumping and pumping for several years without being checked or maintained, etc., which we're assuming is the case here. And sometimes when it malfunctions and people who have no idea what they're doing decide to pull the pump up, try to fix it themselves and then put it back down the well, it doesn't generally work out, and then it could go kaput, which we suspect this pump here has. So update on the pump situation. No, that is not diarrhea, and that is not chocolate fudge or topping or whatever that is. That is red oxide, and that's what's down the hole. Pretty much what happened was the pump did work when we put it back together yesterday, probably all for about 5 minutes before it tried sending that sludge up the pipe. Yeah, not fun. So we've put the pipe back in the hole, and well, we got 3 green lights now, and then back to 2, and it's going to be like that on the control box for the next couple of hours.
Yeah, going to red light. That pump's still seized up.
Meaning the pump is buggered. That's not producing any water. We're in trouble. So essentially, plan B is going to be, now that we know that this pump is probably buggered, we're going to need to get a new one. Dad's trying to open up the box, as you can see, try and access the wiring, and see what it looks like inside it. Merino Watch. Looks like these are some of the ladies that are still yet to lamb. Either that or they have lambs and they've left them for a nap. You can see how some of them have decided to be black. And that's all due to the trees being burnt. That's actually kind of bad news for us, because that black ash, taking all the bark off the trees, is making them look more like crossbreeds than merinos. I mean, there's a sheep breed called the Australian White. I suppose our merinos are trying to be Australian blacks. Oh look, there's a little baby. Well done, Mum, you're doing good. No, but in all seriousness, they have been rubbing up against the black burnt trees, and the ash and the bark has literally been peeling off the trees onto the sheep. Hence the black appearance. Goes to show they're happy though. Right now anyway. Because the pump is buggered, we need a new pump. That's going to be Dad's job tomorrow, and my job tomorrow will probably be whacking the rock bucket back onto the loader, going out to Clark Road and finishing what I started. Right, while we may not have been very successful in getting water going, nor putting seed in the ground today, there is still something that I want to go and do. The points are on, we know this, and it's all a matter of seeing what the furrows are going to look like. Only way we're going to do that is if we jump in the tractor and go take it for a test spin. Right, combine is in the paddock. We'll stick it in B for this. We'll have it 1300 reds to start with. B1. Push remote number 3. Combine is lowered. Right, working speed. This is not quite level strip. I'm just doing one pass to see what it does. Yeah, fucking rough as guts in here. Maybe some level stuff over here. What's that looking like? Yeah. See, this is just as well that we're testing it without any seed in. Because I think the seed would be on the topsoil if we had seed going at the same time.
I need to go and get those stoppers.
Yep. Right, I'm not sure how much of that was on the camera, but we'll raise her up. Just keep the tractor idling for now. We may need some different stoppers, because this combine lowers through this axle here, and you got a hydraulic ram there and the same on the opposite side, and these stoppers are in here to try and keep the machine level. Now, because we swapped the points from knife to wing points, it's going to be slightly different because the wings are shallower, and it doesn't exactly look like there's much going on here. You can't exactly see very well, but yeah, that one there, that'd be row 22. That was out of the ground briefly. Not particularly ideal. And that's partially also the reason why we chose ball paddock to do this, because one, dirty big fire breaks all the way around, and two, it's got the trash, which is the stubble and growth and all sorts you can see hanging on to the points here. Doesn't look like the seed boots have moved much, but again, all this grass and stuff caught up. You can't exactly see what's going on with the actual furrows. Not good. Not very good at all.
You might have to plough it all first.
Might have to plough it.
Oh, a lot better like that.
I don't really want to.
But then we're going to have all these furrows everywhere. I don't know. But it's definitely a lot better where it's ploughed.
Yeah, look at that. Well, we won't need to plough the paddock around the house because that's already been done.
Yeah.
I don't.
We'll have to wait till see what it's like after a rain, but it might go in after a rain. But that looks rock hard out there. That's not going to go in unless it's really wet.
So in other words, we've got no choice but to wait for the rain.
Yeah. I mean, we can still see these paddocks.
Well, yeah, they've been ploughed. Just we're going to be having fun unless we burn that stubble in the middle. The Gator has got a flat tyre. Look at that! We're spraying!